His companies and projects are focused on sustainability, regeneration, and community enrichment. Super inspiring human being. He's also part of two funds, the M1 Fund and the Cho Family Foundation, that supports small business relief and environmental preservation. Let's give a big round of applause for Tony.
Joe is such an inspiring human, and thank you for the introduction. You know, you do a better job than any publicist I've ever had. So, and again, that's the power of community, right? So, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Joe and Kirill and the Miami Maine community from Barry Stamos back in the day. And I think the last time I spoke at this event might have been 6 years ago. Magic City Innovation District, which is literally a few blocks to the west of here. So I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Magic City Innovation District. If you are, raise your hand. Okay, great. I have a crowd of new people. How many people are new to Miami? Raise your hand. All right, so we have a few people that are new to Miami. What I was just telling Joe is, you know, I'm from Florida. I'm a native Floridian. I was born in a small town called Sebastian, Florida, which is a very rural area in central Florida. A lot of retirees and a lot of birds and great waves, known for the Sebastian Inlet where Kelly Slater's from. But I was born on an interfaith commune started by my grandmother, who comes from Brooklyn, New York, the Holy Land, as she calls it. So, and that is where my story through her started, and getting to Florida, where she started her interfaith ashram in Central Florida in 1976, doing interracial and same-sex unions with the local KKK chapter, you know, burning crosses on our lawn. So, needless to say, you know, I had a very unique upbringing, but at the core of it, what really I've carried through in the many incarnations of my personal and professional life is this deep connection to community. And when Joe asked me to speak on election day about unity, you know, it really resonated with me, because there's been so much division and so much toxicity, and it's really important that if we're going to survive the larger existential crisis that we have, which is the environmental crisis, we're going to have to figure out how to get beyond religion and politics. It doesn't really matter if we don't have a city who you voted for. You know, if we're underwater because of sea level rise and climate change, that we know are now proven by data that are human-caused activities. We've compressed 25,000 years of CO2 emissions into 100 years. These are data points. So we can look at, we've just experienced 2 hurricanes in this state. And in my home county, of Indian River County, there were 4 tornadoes, which no one was prepared for, and 18 people died. So the threats are real. And what's really going on is the internal turmoil and the division that we're speaking, that we come from, and the othering that happens from our identification with a particular belief, a dogma, etc. And so I'm not going to get into politics today, because that's not what I do. I'm really about unity. And all I can say is that no matter what happens in this election, my prayer and my wish is that there's a profound sense of coming together so we can tackle the real challenges that we're facing in this world. You know, end the wars, create more peace, create communities that are thriving, you know, provide food for 8 billion people, which we have the technology, we have the capacity to do so, but do we have the will? You know, and in the work that I do around regenerative development and placemaking, we don't look at anything as a problem. We look at everything as potential. Everything in regenerative thinking is about potential. And particularly the work that we do with regenerative placemaking, it's the potential of place. And it's our responsibility to understand the place that we're in, the physical place, the spiritual, the metaphysical, all of the places that we occupy in this place where we are right now. So I'm going to bring you guys back a little bit of history so you guys understand. And I want to honor Ofer Mizrahi, who is the founder of Ironside and this project, and one of my colleagues, and someone I've been working with probably for 20 years in the urban cores revitalization. When I would tell them about what is the urban core of Miami, they thought I was, organizing a hip hop party. No, Miami has a downtown. Miami has a creative class. Miami has, a new beginning, a new opportunity that's based on creativity, that's based on art. And so I was very involved in the creation of the Wynwood Arts District and being involved early on. But really, where we are is in a district called Little River. This is in the Upper East Side of Miami. Really Little Haiti, which was actually just renamed about 5 years ago. It wasn't called Little Haiti, this general area, until there was a ordinance that was voted on at City Commission, and we were very much involved in that process. But this warehouse, is representative of regeneration and aliveness, and that's very much a part of what we do at Future of Cities. And the work that we're doing is, how do you look at something and see the potential? And in 2005, when I was just starting Metro One, I had been connected with an artist named Esther Giori, who was living in a warehouse with her Jamaican sculptor boyfriend, who was half her age, and she was reliving her magic. Her husband had passed away a year earlier. She sold her penthouse in Portofino Tower and moved into a warehouse with her boyfriend, and they were throwing wild, amazing underground parties. And that's where I went from experiencing nightlife in South Beach into being exposed to the creative class in Miami. And through that process of seeing all these creatives, these artists, these bakers, these entrepreneurs, which has always made Miami what it is, inspired me to look at old, dilapidated infrastructure, warehouses, as a blank canvas for co-creation. And so you guys are in a 60, 70, 80-year-old warehouse that, thanks to the vision of Ofer and others, has reimagined it and brought it up to a contemporary use that's inspiring you all. And so when I was asked to talk about unity and to speak today, people usually get asked to speak because they're successful. And I've had a number of successes in my life, but I think I've had more failures than I've had successes. And I think it's really important because you guys are all entrepreneurs, and we were talking about rejection and talking about perseverance and adaptability. And so that has been a big theme in my life for my whole life. And I grew up dealing with rejection my whole life, and probably the biggest pivot in my life, growing up in an ashram, my grandmother adopting me at birth, who was the guru, and then went to college at Northwestern, and then ended up doing an exchange program in Argentina. I was raised vegetarian. This was a celibate, non-substance ashram, monastic ashram. And of course, when I was in Argentina, I was exploring and dabbling in, other things and experimenting with life and having a good time. And I called my grandmother and I said, I've got some bad news for you. I said, I'm moving to Argentina. I'm dropping out of school. I was going to Northwestern at the time. And oh, by the way, I'm eating meat. I was raised vegetarian. It was an ashram, of course, with obviously expressing my defiance to, control. I really wanted to be free. And she was she definitely taught a teaching of tough love. And so she said, that's the way you want to go, whether you're going to be cut off financially, you're going to be excommunicated from the community, and it was a harsh teaching. And I was, I think, 19 years old at that moment. I didn't have 2 pennies, 2 nickels to rub together. I didn't have any contacts in Argentina. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it on my own. And someone mentioned earlier about rejection from your mother. There isn't anything more strong than a rejection from your mother. And at that moment, it was just having that belief in your faith in yourself that you can make it. And I went out on my own in the middle of the day in Buenos Aires, Argentina, 1998. Madonna just filmed Evita. Carlos Menem was president. The dollar and the peso were 1-to-1. There wasn't a more glorious opportunity to reinvent yourself than that day that I went out to try to reinvent myself. So literally within an hour, I walk up the stairs of an old renovated building, and there's this beautiful woman at the top of the stairs. Her name is Vici, red-headed Italian, Argentinian woman. And we started talking, and we became fast friends. She gave me an opportunity. She hired me on the spot, this is 1998, to be the host of this Resto Lounge. At that point, there was no such thing as Resto Lounges. This was a new concept. So, little Tony Cho from the ashram becomes the host of Bar That Song in Buenos Aires, 1998. The heyday when the dollar and the peso were 1-to-1. The first week I'm working there, Madonna and the president come in. Charlie Garcia is a famous musician. All of a sudden, my life is instantly transformed and changed. I was making money, I was making contacts, I was getting flown to ski in Bariloche, which is like the Aspen of South America, at Carnival in Brazil, and on people's yachts in Punta del Este, and I'm fully living, expressing my Siddhartha's Kamala's Garden journey aspect of my life, fully commenced at that moment, which was super liberating for me because I grew up very differently with different thoughts about intimacy and love, and we were very involved in kind of the HIV and AIDS day early in Florida, and we were very much part of that time and that era where there was a lot of fear around sex, and we believed that if you were going to have sex, particularly on the protected sex, that you would get AIDS and you would die, and that was happening to a lot of that community in the 90s at that time. And so overcoming a lot of those, traumas or conditionings or training was really important. But the most important thing at that moment was learning to believe in myself. And it would again and again and again come up as a theme in my life of people don't believe you, or they're not going to follow you, or they're not going to trust you. And you have to follow and cultivate that intuition, and that inner essence and that inner knowing that's really important, particularly for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs that are here, that are on their own. You have to believe in yourself, and it's one thing's for sure is you're gonna fail. That's just part of life. Just like we're gonna die, we're gonna fail and we're gonna pass. But how are you gonna live your life? How are you gonna live each moment and see every challenge as an opportunity for transformation? And so, early on, I was very passionate about the environment, and in 2005, when I had launched the Metro One commercial brokerage in Wynwood on the warehouse tracks, next to where Lenny Kravitz had his recording studio, we helped bring Zach the Baker to Wynwood, we helped bring Panther Coffee to this area, and really curating and supporting small businesses as the lifeblood and the soul of Main Street. And that was the focus. If you invest in small businesses, you are investing in community. And that return on community is proven to be 2 or 3 times more than investing in other brands that are not local. You're supporting a local circular economy. So all these themes of sustainability, circularity, Buckminster Fuller, regeneration, really started to resonate with me early on in my career. And I was in a transactional business, which many of us are. Business is transactional, and we're in the process of evolving capitalism to a more in balance economic system that drives everything in growth at any and all costs, even if it means destroying Mother Nature, destroying our lives, destroying our health. And so we're in a recalibration mode. So 20 years ago, I launched the first Green Building Resource Center in Wynwood, and people didn't take me seriously. They didn't care about paying more for recycled countertops or carbon capturing concrete or hempcrete or things that are at our fingertips, that are ready to be deployed, that are now finally being deployed because the amount of capital investing and recognizing how serious the crisis is and the challenge. So I'm starting to see it over a 20+ year career of people saying no to me. Just like they said, Wynwood would never be any place interesting. Just like people said the design district's never going to happen, the Haiti's never going to happen. Springfield, Phoenix Arts and Innovation District in Jacksonville 5 years ago when I went there, completely dilapidated. And again and again and again, believing in myself, but also being able to deeply listen to the needs of those communities is what creates the success of these projects. So yes, I can be an ambassador and I can be a visionary, but vision without execution is lunacy, right? It's just imagination. And it's all about the execution. And that's really been a big part of what our work at the Future of Cities is all about, is not talking about regeneration and regenerative placemaking, but demonstrating and showing what it means to us and open sourcing our learnings, particularly our failures, what didn't work. And we worked a lot with the Haitian community when we were doing Magic City Innovation District, and it wasn't an easy road. And it was a good road because I learned a lot from the process. Just like when I failed at my fashion business, I got my ass kicked because it was outside of my zone of genius. And it taught me to properly do my due diligence, and it was a very, very expensive lesson. And the biggest lesson, was 2008 when I had opened my brand new office. I went out on my own at 26. I leased a 5,000 square foot warehouse in Wynwood on the tracks, which is now going to be the first commuter stop outside of downtown Miami. And the second stop is going to be right here on 62nd Street because of the work that we did with Magic City. That is going to transform the urban core and the urban spine of Miami to have public transportation. That's something we've been working on for over 15 years. And so there are things that are happening, and a lot more needs to happen for us to be resilient, for us to be regenerative. And so in 2005, I opened my first company, Metro One Commercial. We celebrated 19 years last month. And Fabian was one of my first brokers there. We worked together in the nightlife. Raise your hand, Fabian. So we're like chameleons. We've evolved in so many different evolutions, and I think that's the beauty about being an entrepreneur. Someone talked about pivoting, to tech. You were talking about it, just being adaptable, and I think that's adaptable and resilient, and always wanting to learn, and always being a student. I think that's one of the main things that I learned. And just always having gratitude. And I think that that's one of the things that I've really taken, to heart lately, is really tapping into that frequency of gratitude and kind of how that resonates and what builds on that instead of coming from a place of scarcity or judgment or fear. And I was just saying earlier that the project in Jacksonville, we have this Phoenix Arts and Innovation District, which we just inaugurated our first opening of our building with the mayor and all the city councilmen and women. And it's been a 5-year process of just having a whole district with vacant warehouses. And to witness the support and the gratitude of the community and people within this underserved arts district in North Jacksonville downtown, which is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Jacksonville, speaking about regenerative placemaking and speaking about their regeneration of their souls, their communities, and their businesses is really what uplifts my heart. And to see that people are adapting these things into their lives, where the environmental movement, the green building movement, the organic food movement hasn't really been adopted because it's not accessible for everybody, financially or intellectually. And I think what's important for mass transformation is for these concepts to be adaptable and accessible for all. And that's why I've been working on my first book called Regenerative Placemaking, an experiential framework for the future of cities. And it's really focused on 3 main pillars, which community is the top of those pillars. Because if we don't have authentic community that's really embracing our diversity and our differences and can get past the things that we don't align on and focus the things that we do align on, like thriving communities, good education for our kids, having a successful business, supporting one another. 5 minutes? Okay, good one. another 2 hours. But in any event, it's good to keep things on track. Thank you, Joe. So, community, number 1. Culture, number 2. And nature, number 3. Those are our top 3 pillars. And bringing it back to the story of place. Storing place. It's so important that we understand where we are. Who were our ancestors? Who came before us? There were indigenous people here long before white men came to this country and to this land. And we had the Seminole Indians, the Tequesta, the Ais, many different tribes that were on this peninsula up to 12,000 years ago. And before that, Florida was a sandbar that was formed 530 million years ago. And so we have to understand the ecology of place and what we're dealing with. And when people talk about sea level rise, they're concerned about the water coming from the ocean. The water's coming from underneath. We have porous limestone. So that's our sewages, our water supply. And so it really requires us to think very intentionally about what we're doing. And Miami's my home, and I'm so passionate about this place, and I've seen it evolve, and it's so wonderful to see this community and all the other communities weaving together, because now is the time for unity. Now is the time to come together. And again, regardless of any election result, we are human beings. We are one family. We have similar concerns for our families, for our kids to be successful, to be able to put food on our plate, to feel purposeful. And so I think that regenerative placemaking offers a framework for anybody. Any one of you here is a regenerative placemaker in your family, in your business, in your community. And regeneration goes beyond sustainability, because the status quo is not enough. We've extracted so much at this point that we need to go back into a regenerative, life-giving, co-evolutionary process of regeneration. And so what I try to do in all my projects here at Miami at the Climate Innovation Hub, which is an aspirational net zero event space, co-working space, where we're doing an event, our first event, Regenerate, with the godfather of the Green Building Council and Regenesis Institute, Bill Reed, right here, demonstrating climate solutions. We have the starfish from the reef line that are carbon capturing, made with carbon capturing concrete. So we can demonstrate what's actually possible. We can inspire public-private partnership to accomplish these great challenges that we need to accomplish in a very short period of time. And then in Jacksonville, as I mentioned, we've got the Phoenix Arts and Innovation District, and at Chosen, where we're going to do our artisan market this weekend in partnership with Miami Made. We've got artisans from all over the state. And again, feeding in and building upon this concept of gilding, right? Gilding of small businesses, creating communities of small businesses that elevate one another through a network, a statewide network, where they're getting multi-channel marketing and support. So we're having a market here at the Hub this Friday, we're having a market at Chosen this Sunday, and we do markets in Jacksonville all the time, because that's how we promote and elevate small businesses. And we know that small businesses are the lifeblood and soul of all of our communities, and investing in small businesses is what's going to help lift people out of poverty, right? So that's really kind of the crux of it. And I think it's time to go to questions and answers, right? All right. Thank you, guys.
Share a question or a comment with Tony. Arnell, let's go.
Hi, Lardell. Thank you so much for your speech and your time here. I had a question about Zone Genius. You talked about the white fashion and how you went into that, but then it failed. And so just want to kind of get a sense of just more so your experience around exercising the Zone of Genius. What does that mean for you? How you tap into that? How do you make decisions around where you pursue or don't pursue?
Thank you, great question, and probably the most painful and valuable lesson of my professional career. It was a point where I had exited a number of real estate projects and development, and I was sitting on more cash than I had before, and I wanted to diversify, my investments. I had been a one-trick pony, so to speak, focused on one industry, which is real estate, for the last 25 years, and I was inspired by a business out of Mexico because it was focused on supporting artisans. And my mistake was, not necessarily investing but not really doing proper due diligence and not really treating that investment with respect. You know, and you have to, like, I come from nothing, so to have no respect for money is disrespecting yourself as well. And so the money that we invested, while it seemed relatively small in the overall pot of available cash, it became something that was very problematic because it was out of our zone of genius, and we didn't do what we normally do in our other businesses. It was more of like a trusted, oh, I'm just going to be a passive investor. And it didn't turn out that way. So the lesson is being learned, and fortunately we were able to end it and sell it, but it was a fairly intense experience. So, but again, all of these experiences, if you learn from them, teach you something to grow.
One more question, Les.
Thanks so much, Tony, for everything you just do, man. I see that a lot of your projects, especially in Little Haiti and in Jacksonville, are mainly based in Black and brown communities. And some of your projects look to uplift the community as a whole, which is usually never popular from a funding standpoint. So do you get any pushback for your message and what you're trying to do in some of these neighborhoods that don't really benefit the bottom line stockholders?
Yeah, again, I saw gold in these warehouses, you know, and in the creative flats, in the community, and, you know, I've been rejected by every single bank in South Florida for every one of my projects until, you know, you go from being, you know, insane to brilliant. And that's what people, there is a tipping point where you do go, where people are like, you're crazy to you're brilliant. And I've seen it now over 3 decades in 3 different neighborhoods, because the more you believe in people, the more they believe in you. And I think there's the most potential in these underserved Black and brown communities, and they deserve the investment and the hand up, not the hand out. And really that's teaching people and helping them. Yeah, and people, there's a lot of, and particularly we talked about resilience and people going through hard times. Those are the people that know how to survive. And they just need education, tools, and inspiration to have a chance to be successful. And so in Jacksonville, we were turned down by every bank, but now they're lining up. Now the investors are lining up. We needed the money years ago, but now they're lining up. And it's just about perseverance. And you know, we have CDFI, a community development bank, that funded our project in Jacksonville. But if they were going to fund, you know, a certain amount, they ran out of money. And they went to New York to ask for money. And so you do have your champions, and you only need one. I think Kung was talking about that. So you can get 100 no's, but all you need is that one yes. And so keep trying, guys. That's all I have to say. Don't give up. Keep trying.
Amazing. Big round of applause. And super excited to talk about this upcoming weekend, both Friday night and Sunday. So November 8th is Regenerate, this launch of Regenerate at his Hub MIA, Innovation Hub. It's an incredible space for just parties, experiences, events, and as we talked about, there's going to be a great speaker there. But it's also a party. I'm going to talk about the party a little bit, because we're going to have a DJ set there, we're going to have live music, there's going to be food vendors. It's going to be an amazing time on Friday night. So we have a discount for everyone in the room, Miami Made 11, and you can get 11% off the ticket. I'll email everybody tomorrow with the details for that event Friday night. It's going to be an amazing time. And then let's road trip. Miami Made road trip up to Sebastian to his chosen retreat center for the local artisan market on Sunday. So I'll be driving up there. It's going to be great. We'll have a nice group of Miami Made members. So I'll send the details on that as well. Anything else you want to share on the weekend?
There's still some brewings left on Sunday night only. Saturday was sold out. And it's also, I was married on 11/11/11 by my grandmother before she passed away, and I'm celebrating my 13th-year wedding anniversary. My beautiful wife, Jimena, who's my main inspiration of my life, and we're calling this edition the Love Market. We had over 500 people there last time. We expect 800, and as I said, this is a statewide marching, and it's a mini festival. So it's a little bit of Burning Man, a little bit of Las Sales and Ibiza, and there'll be live music and all kinds of seaplane experiences with Carlton Ward, who's our Nat Geo photographer, filmmaker. So lots of cool activities, and just a way for you to experience what does regeneration look like, and how can you participate, and we welcome you all to be part of the Regenaissance that unfolds.
One more big round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, so quick check in here. All right, it's